The following is a marketing presentation for Mopec, and this is going to demonstrate the customization and configuration capabilities of GraphPad, but also show some limitations and where actual customization of the code is going to be necessary. So just as a background, Mopec's business model, they create operatory equipment for mortuaries, which are typically located in the basement of hospitals, etc. And the issue there is there's in the basements there's a lot of impediments to just putting in square objects, and so you have, for example, beams that pop up. And so I've created a small beam. This is a 4x4 beam that actually shows up within the basement space. And so as they place their equipment, it's very important that they be able to measure out the locations and then see what's going to fit. So the refrigeration systems and also the gurneys that are used in the operatories, they're actually rather bulky. So for example, one of their refrigeration systems, we'll drop that in there, we can see if we actually have an impediment, it can actually cause a lot of problems. And so we can actually see how easily we can see this impediment, how it's going to relate to a refrigeration system, and we can zoom in so we can actually see it a little closer. But we can see how these beams that are in the basement can actually cause big problems for how they're going to set things up. And this is where the product, GraphPad, and the business model actually have a good fit, because for their salespeople it's very important that they be able to quickly examine the basement space, make a note of all of the impediments to laying things out, and then quickly when they're talking to the customer show that you can actually, these are the objects you can actually place in there, this is how things would work. And so this is a small library that I've actually created for a couple of things. So this is a gurney and shows how it would be positioned. And again, as we move around the drawing, which they could actually quickly make by themselves, I mean, to draw with this product, you can see it's very easy to create something. We'll back those two things out. But you can actually very quickly draft up the space, you can put in the impediments, and then you can actually see how things will move around where you're going to store these things. And so, for example, this gurney, and actually I should go ahead and turn on the rotation capability, so you can rotate that around. Oh, messed it up. Try it again. There we go. So we can see as we move this item around how it's going to fit throughout the thing, throughout the space. And so we could lay out various different refrigeration systems, and we'll put another stack in there as well and move that into position. Okay, and things will line up and snap into alignment. Now the issue for Mopec, however, is they have about 700 standard products, and so this way of actually laying out the products for the salesman is completely insufficient. And so we do have some category capabilities, and you can see I've got multiple clients in this demonstration software, but we laying them out so that the salesman can actually pick the item that they're looking for very quickly is going to be an area where they'd require customization for this product. There's simply no getting around that. The other thing is that in order to have the objects for the salesman to work with, we have to work off the drawings which are provided. And so again, for each one of these products that they sell, they have an engineering drawing, but we actually need a scaled image of each one of these items inside of the application so that we can actually use it. And the way I've done that for this example is I simply just basically use Pixelmator, cut out this particular part of the image, which is what I wanted to have in my library, and then physically took out all the lines and stuff like that and scaled it appropriately. Per image, this is probably going to take me like 20-30 minutes per image. So when I initially was working with Mopec, the issue wasn't that the product, well, first of all, the product wasn't really ready. It wasn't in the state that it currently is, and so it was a little bit early. They were a very early adopter. And then I had to focus on the continuing development of the product, and I turned over the imaging to Mopec to actually get these images together. And unfortunately what happened is that it wasn't done very well. And so the images were not exactly to scale, and so you couldn't really trust when you put the image inside the drawing that it would actually represent that this product would fit in this particular location. And so it caused a little bit of a problem. So again, just going back to how the product fits into this market and how well it works for this particular customer. There would have to be some customizations in the software to make it so that the ability for the salesman to select the items would have to be made so it's more intuitive and easier for them to find the products. And that's going to require some customization and some serious thought about how to define the image that they're going to look at, or should this be a item number or something like that. How is the salesman going to be able to select the item he's looking for? And then all of these images would then have to be captured and scaled so that as they drop them into the sketch that the salesman has created on site, it actually is the correct size. And so you'd have to, that's a whole quality issue that's associated with that. Whether I would be doing that or whether the client, Mopec, would be doing it themselves, that's for them. But with 700 items, it would not make sense for me to be doing them myself. It would not be cost effective. So again, this gives you an idea of what the uses of the product are. This is a great application, I believe, for GraphPad, because for the installers and the salesmen to get quick measurements and see what's going to fit in the location while they're talking to the customer, that makes a lot of sense. We could actually build up an entire proposal. We could actually really streamline the process. But again, there'd be a lot of work in order to make this product successful. And that's my presentation. Thank you.